Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Malcolm Miner. I am the program director of the Gamma chapter of Gamma Xi Phi, the nation's premier fraternity for artists. And I have the highest honor to welcome to you all on our next edition of Behind the Art with our honorary sister, Sister Nettie Forne Thomas. Welcome, Sister Thomas. How are you today?
I am fine, and thank you, Malcolm, for interviewing me. This is
Oh,
such a pleasure.
of course. I've been wanting to do this forever. So I was like, I'm happy we finally got to do it and we made the time. So that's all that matters to me.
That's right.
So I'm gonna start from the beginning. I
Okay.
know about you, but our viewers don't. So let's start from the beginning. Where are you from, Sister Thomas?
Well, I am from Belleville, New Jersey, although I was born in Wilson County, North Carolina, but I've been a New Jersey resident since age of 2.
Oh, okay. Nice, nice, nice. Are you from a large family, a small family?
Well, my immediate family is just the three of us. My sister, and my brother, and I'm a middle child. Uh, and of course, my parents.
Lovely. And do you come from an artistic family? Is
Well,
anybody else?
I think so, but not formally. My father was very artistic. He played the guitar, and he also made he sculpted. He made little images for us out of wood, just with a penknife carving. Yeah,
Wow.
I would say he was artistic, although not formally trained.
Hey, some of the best artists aren't, I hear.
So true.
So that's lovely. How was that, I guess, in your upbringing in Belleville? How was that artistically for you?
Well, it was unusual. Belleville, New Jersey is a small town, and there's an even smaller section called Silver Lake. And Silver Lake is where my family settled. Silver Lake was primarily Italians with maybe fewer than 10 Black families. So the school I went to was all white from kindergarten all the way through even Montclair State University. I was the only Black student in every one of my classes. So that was very I guess very formative because instead of being isolated and ostracized because I could draw,
Mhm.
I was accepted as being exceptional because I would draw for my fellow classmates and anything they wanted. So it was not that difficult for me
Okay.
because being able to artistically excel, I was seen as not only on their level, but higher than. And of course, being an A+ student also helped.
Okay. Nice. So and I'm from Newark, so being next
Okay.
to Newark with Belleville, were there times, I guess, growing up, did you come over to see what was going on with
Oh,
anything?
all the time,
Okay.
because Newark is where we made our connections. We lived near Lake Street, Branch Brook Park, okay.
I know that.
And we all often went to Newark. Newark was where we went to, well, we actually went to church in Newark, Shiloh Baptist Church, and we went to parties in Newark.
Okay.
So Newark was the place to be.
I was told. I have been told. I would like to say Newark is probably still the place to be artistically.
I think so.
I would definitely
Definitely think
say.
so.
So, wow. So you said Montclair State. I know it said that you went to Pratt and Montclair State. How did that happen?
Well, when I graduated from Belleville High School, I was accepted into Pratt Institute, and that in itself was an unusual interview. I took my portfolio, and one of the questions I was asked when they looked at my academic record was if Belleville High School was certified. And I guess they figured it couldn't be certified if I graduated number 9 in the class of 200. So I told them it was, and they asked a few questions, and then they were ready to dismiss me. And I asked them, aren't you going to look at my portfolio? And they said, oh, yes. And when they went to the back to get my portfolio, the whole atmosphere changed because they were impressed with what I'm I'm sorry, with what I had done and presented to them. But before that, it was very dismissive. So Pratt was an interesting experience, even though I found the some of the teachers rather dismissive. As an art student, I've always found other art students to be very embracing. Mm-hmm. And so that made all the difference in the world. In fact, one of the incidents I remember, because it was one of the first incidents, is when I would bring my work to class, we had to always put the work up, and then you got a critique from the teacher. And my critique was always very bad. You know, nothing was acceptable to her. Mm. And then one day, the other students came to me and says, tomorrow, no one is going to put their name on their work. I says, okay. And that day, when she came to my work, it was like a glowing critique. And then it was, who did this? And then, you know, I raised my hand and she was flabbergasted. But the students knew what she was doing all along. So they came up with this without my even, you know, acknowledging that she was very dismissive of it. So I've always found that artists are very embracing because we have that commonality. So, and then to end Pratt, I only went to Pratt for 1 year. I was above average student. One of the department chairperson had me come into his office for an interview at the end of my freshman year to encourage me to not continue on to my sophomore year. And his reasoning was that I had 3 strikes against me. Number 1, I wanted to go into commercial art, which was a very competitive field. Number 2, I was a female. And number 3, I was Black. I mean, at least he laid it on the line. Now, I did not go back to Pratt, not because of his evaluation, but why struggle someplace where you're not going to be appreciated?
Absolutely.
And that's when I transferred to Montclair High. And an interesting thing is, I think it was in my sophomore year, they brought over some of the work from Pratt Institute for the art students at Montclair to look at. And one of the pieces they brought over was mine. I mean, without them even realizing, it was my piece.
Wow.
So, anyway, Pratt was an interesting experience, to say the least. I learned a lot. It was good instruction and fantastic students and some very good instructors.
And how was that when you made the switch? When you went to Montclair, that was more of the...
Montclair was, well, from Newark, you know, Montclair is kind of like, it's not as isolated with minorities as Pratt, but it didn't have that many. I think in the art department, there might have been 3 of us in the whole art department.
Okay.
But they were more accepting because many of our students actually would come from Newark, you know, because they were students who didn't live on campus. So they were more used to differences.
Okay.
And at Montclair, I did well. I made the National Honor Society and had my work, you know, in various on-campus sites. So the basics from Pratt carried over to Montclair really helped me a lot.
Lovely. So after Montclair, where did life take you after that?
Well, when I went to Montclair, I transferred over to art education instead of commercial art. And one of the things I did after that was to apply to teach in Newark. And I taught in Newark for 36 years.
Yeah,
So that's where I went from Montclair.
I think I saw that you worked at Arts High School.
Yes. I first taught at Weequahic High School, though. I taught
Oh,
at Weequahic High School. And Montclair was, I mean, Arts High was where all art teachers wanted to be. And of course, it was not that easy to get into Arts High because somebody had to leave for there to be a vacancy. And
right.
then you had all these other teachers who wanted to be at Arts High. So I was able to, in fact, the teacher I worked with at Weequahic High School, my very best friend, Alita Caldwell, she went to Arts High when there was a vacancy. And when Alita went to Arts High, she was promoted to art chairperson, and that left a vacancy. So I was put in her place as an art instructor. And when she was made principal of Arts High, the first female principal and the first Black principal, then I became art chairperson. So we were kind of like moving each other along. But that was Arts High School.
Yes, I've heard about your friend. I currently work in
Alita,
high school. So
huh?
I've heard about many stories of the famous art department and all the different departments at the school. But I've definitely heard a lot about Miss Caldwell and her legacy
Yes,
and all the things that you guys were doing around that time for the students. And I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing. And the gallery still stands,
yes,
all the beautiful artwork that the students put up every year. We have to find a way to get more people to come and see that because they
true.
really do phenomenal work and they're really learning a lot. So, uh,
And even at Weequahic, when Alita and I went there was only Art 1 and Art 2, and that was the end of the instruction. Well, because of our encouraging the students, we moved it up to Arts 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that was from getting the students excited about art, which, you know, many of the students, it was just something you did. You took art because you thought it was going to be easy and not necessarily fun and creative. So we increased the department to 4 years instead of just the first and second year.
oh, wow. Is there a favorite memory of yours of during your time as a teacher, teaching art? Or do you have many favorite moments
There's
or
so many of them. One that really wasn't about teaching art, but it was about a relationship with the students. When I became senior class advisor, they no longer had senior class trips because of getting the administration to approve them.
Mhm.
And the students wanted to go, I forgot where. It was one of the amusement parks, I think in Virginia or Maryland, but it was going to be a 3-day trip. And they wanted to go. So I told them the only way they could go is to get their parents on board. So we had a meeting with all of their parents. The principal gave us a small room because he didn't expect anyone to show up. Well, we ended up in the auditorium, and the parents agreed that their students could go and petitioned petitioned the superintendent to allow us to go. So we went. Well, one of the things that started off was not that great. I was in the front. Students passed me a note. that this young man was in the back who was not permitted to go. So when I went in the back, he was under the coats and what have you. And when we got to a rest stop, I called the principal and he said, well, you have to put him out because he's not authorized. This is Maryland. I can't just leave this young man, you know, in a state where he doesn't know anybody. So he says, well, he's under your care. And so I informed the students and everybody kind of like made sure he didn't get into any trouble because it would reflect on all of us. So everybody was really good. And we had one incident where we were getting on the bus to come back home. And the hotel staff, few of them, came out to the bus because all the pillows were gone. The students took the pillows so they could be comfortable on the way back home. So I made them return all the pillows. And then I told them that no one was to repeat that incident because that would sully our trip. And they all agreed. And the teachers were coming up afterwards. Everybody's so quiet. They won't talk about the trip at all. What happened? I said, what did they say happened? They said nothing happened. I said, well, nothing happened. But, you know, it was like, it showed that they respected what I asked them to do. And they really did not let it be known that we did have one incident because the majority of the trip was fine, except for our stowaway and the pillows. So everything else was fine.
Wow, a stowaway. Now that's clever.
Yeah,
I've never had that happen, but that's very clever. Okay. Well, sort of, I guess, excuse me if I'm bouncing all around.
That's okay.
I would love to know when did you fall in love with art?
Art was something I've always done. Two things were always very captivating to me growing up. One was reading, because I would read the backs of the cereal boxes, you know, anything that came into the house, I would read. And the other one was drawing. And there was a time when the loaves of bread had a seal on the end of these Disney characters, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
So I would take them and draw them. And then you had these glossy pictures of a lot of the movie stars, and I would draw those. So I always liked to take something and draw it and reproduce it. And some kids would say, how can you look at something and draw it? And I was puzzled. How can you look at it and not be able to draw it? So, you know, it was just natural to me that if you look at something, you should be able to put it down on paper.
You know, my hat's off to you. I am not gifted visual art wise, and I've been trying for years. But I have family members who are very crafty in that way, and I've always tried to tinker and draw. You know, it's not my ministry, but
okay.
But I give it a try. I give it a try every time. You never know.
But one thing you can do is, like I always told my students, and they were not all art, you know, very talented in art, because I'm talking about week, not arts high, because arts high, you knew they were talented. They had to take a test to be admitted. But I told them that art is everywhere. And before you leave my class, you're going to create a piece of art that you will like, that will be exceptional. And they always did. But it's that you can teach someone to draw. You really can. And if they follow the rules, they can draw.
Okay. Well, I should take your class because maybe I'll learn a thing or two.
You can learn to draw.
I believe it. I believe you. Wow. Okay. So how being in Newark at that time, even though you were an educator, were there moments that you had an opportunity for showcasing your artwork as you were growing?
Oh, yes. All the time that I was teaching, I also was exhibiting, because I remembered one of the things they stressed, well, they didn't stress. one of the things they warn you of at Montclair, not Pratt, that art teachers would not be artists
Mm,
because they would spend their time teaching. And to be an artist as an art teacher, that was like a far-fetched aspiration. And once they said that, then I knew that's what I would do.
mm.
Because my, I guess by being the only Black student in my classes growing up, I always felt if somebody told me I couldn't do it, I was going to do it. And that carried on into being told that as art teachers, as they would say, those who can do and those who can't teach.
Yeah.
Well, that is ridiculous. So I made it a point. I would, at that time, there were no online calls for artists. So I would go to the Newark Public Library, art department on the fourth floor, look on the bulletin board, and you would find different places where there would be art fairs, art festivals, and I would go to them and take my art. And you sometimes it's on a beach, you just set up your art, but I would always exhibit.
Hmm. Did you find that tough, like with teaching and then having to run to a gallery opening or run to an exhibit to put your stuff up? Like, was that always
Um,
a challenge, or how was that for you?
no, in fact, it was rather inspiring
Hmm.
because by going to the different galleries and being on the street, like James Street downtown, where they would have all the art along the park and what have you, then your students saw that this was possible, that it wasn't just something that existed in the classroom. It was something you could do outside the classroom with appreciation and sometimes even monetary rewards. So it was like what you did weekends and summers.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, where are there a few exhibits that were your favorite that you had the opportunity to be a part of, or a few festivals that you had that were your favorite that you loved being a part of?
Well, the best one always was at the Newark Museum.
Hmm.
Plus, every artist wants to be in a museum. And the Newark Museum at first was not receptive. In fact, the first director, Sam Miller of the Newark Museum, had a steadfast rule. He would never show the work of a living artist. You had to be deceased to be in the Newark Museum. That's how he felt. That, basically, if you were still alive, you hadn't done enough to be in the museum.
Oh,
So that did change. And people did aspire to be in the Newark Museum. In fact, another very close friend that you may know of, Gladys Gower,
yes.
Gladys opened the first gallery in Newark. Not the first Black gallery, the first gallery. Because up until that time, there was only the Newark Museum. There was no gallery in Newark.
Wow.
Gladys opened the first one on Bergen Street. So, of course, that exhibit, I think that was my first solo exhibit. And that, of course, set everything else in motion.
Wow. Now that I did not know. That
Yeah.
is a piece of history.
And in fact, the name of the gallery was ARD, AARD, which means first, beginning. On Bergen Street, neighborhood gallery, Gladys would tell tales where people would come in and want to buy a piece of art. And she would allow them to buy it and pay for it on time, just like you would do anything else. She tells the story of one young man came in. He gave her money for what he wanted. He gave her money down. He came in three more times during the day, gave her more money, and at the end of the day had his art. She said she'll know where he was getting the money, but he came in and paid on the art. So he, at the end of the day, he could take it home with him.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Are there any art festivals now that you like to attend or exhibits that
Well,
you love to go to?
the Newark Arts Festival, again, is the premier festival to be in. I have submitted my work. In fact, I think, oh, this work behind me
Yeah.
was at the Newark Art Gallery. It was in the Newark Arts Festival last year. And that one is I called La Vie en Rose. That was in the Newark Festival. And I hope that I will have another one in this year because I've already submitted my work to be considered.
Nice.
So that is and of course, there's also the one in Morristown, Art in the Atrium in Morristown. I had a solo exhibit there last year with 52 pieces. So that was very, very exciting. And I would say it was more like a retrospective. I had art from 1972 all the way up to 2020, 2024.
Wow.
So, and they do that every year. I'm one of their curators. And this year, the featured artist is Russell Merry, who was also a Newark artist, taught at Westside High School, and passed away before he retired. He was just 60 something. He was one of the Newark artists who had his first solo exhibit at Gladys's Art Studio Gallery on Bergen Street. So between the Newark Museum and Art in the Atrium, those are the two notable places to show my art. And then, of course, there's the 1978 gallery, 1978 Springfield Avenue in Maplewood.
Mhm.
I'm a board member and also a curator. But I would say Art in the Atrium and the Newark Museum are the places that I look forward to showing my work.
Okay. So, with that being said, are there any other artists that you love and admired over the years, their artwork? Who are those folks for you?
Well, for me, it was the women who were part of a group that Gladys started called Black Woman in Visual Perspective. So it's Gladys Gower, Alita Caldwell, Janet Taylor Pickett, Bisa Washington, Margaret Slade Kelly, and Vicki Craig. We had a group, we would get together, we would make sure that you always bought something new, so keep you working. And Russell Merry was our token male member. He insisted on being a member, but Russell was kind of like a manager. He would get us shows at various corporate places. So he was very instrumental with our group.
Nice. Nice. So, with that, how large is your collection of your artwork in total? I mean, I know
Very
probably.
large. As someone said, when I had a what's women, not women in media. Oh, it all begins with passion, which was a YouTube interview by Wanda, and someone mentioned, because this is not my studio, my studio's downstairs, and they saw all the work and says, "Wow, you have a lot of work." I says, "Yeah," and it indicates not a lot of sales because the work is still here. But I don't I don't create to sell. I do have friends who are continually working to sell. I work because I feel compelled to create art. And at my solo exhibit, I did have quite a few sales. In fact, one piece I not only sold the original of, and that's this one in blue that I call Bluebells.
Ah,
So at the solo exhibit, I sold the original, and then someone was interested in a giclée print, and I sold that. And then somebody else was interested in another G clay print, and I sold that. So of that one, I sold the original and two more of that one.
Wow.
So when sales come, they're appreciated. And in addition to sales, I think to me the most, well, definitely the most financially rewarding project was when I was asked to create a mural by PSE&G
Hmm.
that is on University Avenue on their switching station. And it's, let's see, I think 21 feet high and 11 feet wide. It's on the outside of the building. I did not get up and paint on the building. I provided the art. My art was, I'd say, 9 feet by 3 feet. And then they had it digitally reproduced and put up on the building. So it's going to be there for, as they say, in perpetuity until the building's torn down. And of course, I was paid nicely for that. So that was good. And the
Lovely.
nice thing about it is when my friends come to visit me, we can go down and look at my art up in the building.
I've seen it myself.
You have?
I
Oh,
have,
that's
yeah.
nice.
It's lovely. I love always rolling past. I'm like, oh, I think that's Sister Thomas's work. It's like so gorgeous. It's so gorgeous.
And
So
it just goes to show that sometimes without advertising, things just can come to you because you are out going to art exhibits, seeing people, meeting people. Someone asked me how I was contacted for the mural. It was actually through an email and talking about the project. And of course, you're naturally suspicious, like, is this for real? So what I did, I called PSE&G Community Services and asked were there any projects in being considered. And they gave me all the details to let me know that that one was legit. So that's how I ended up getting that. And I was asked, how did they know my work? Well, all I know is they said they saw it on my website, but it was somebody who I had seen and around Newark who knew my work and asked them to look at my website, and that's how they contacted.
your name is being spoken in rooms. That's what it seems. And they're just opening the door for you because that
Uh,
I mean, also, because I can't even stop staring at the picture behind you. Uh,
which one? The
the
pink
one
one or the
in,
blue one?
yeah, in Rose. Yes, that
Oh yeah, La Vie en Rose.
Lavi and Rose. Yes, it just captures the eye. Like I can't stop
Oh,
thinking
thank you.
that one. I love that. Yeah, absolutely. It, Sister Thomas, is there like any advice you can give young artists, not necessarily like the children, but more like the young artists who's still working, like in our 20s, in our 30s, like who are still trying to put, feet to paper and still go to work and all of that, but still create. Is there any advice that you have for those kind of artists?
Well, my advice is more logical than Russell Mary's. Russell was paint or die. So that's how he felt about it.
Got it.
You just, yeah. My advice has always been keep your work out there. Painting in the attic is not going to do it. You've got to keep working, look for artist calls, respond to them. I responded to one in Chicago and ended up sending my work there and went there with my granddaughter. And universities, and I had work at uh, Monmouth University. Uh, let's see, the one in New York, and the various universities around Newark, like Rutgers,
Hmm.
and oh, let's see, Essex County College, and just look for those artist calls. And Newark has a great artists, I would say, artist registry, where they
Mm-hmm.
ask artists to submit your work and get your name in it. And when something comes up that they feel fits you, then you respond to it. Many artists resist reaching out for some of the places because there's usually a, a fee, an entry fee.
Mm-hmm.
But you consider, well, it's no more than if you go to a club, you got to pay to get in. So it's an entry fee and something else might come of it. But the main thing is keep putting your art where the public can see it. It doesn't do any good if it's only in your house and only your relatives and friends see it.
Okay.
And of course, don't give up your day job.
I
You
hear
need
that.
that so you can buy the materials to do your art.
Which is so expensive. My God.
Yes.
I've never, I took I was a theater major in college.
Uh-huh.
However, I went to a BA program at a liberal arts school. So we had to take a wide variety of classes that all, encompass theater. So
Okay.
I remember taking a class called Visual Imagination.
Oh
It was
my.
ran by the costume designer. And so she would give us these different assignments and tasks, and we had to come up, using our theatrical brain, coming up with ways to create stuff. And however we saw, that play or that text living in some kind of artwork with some type of material.
Okay.
And I remember having to buy all this material for the
Oh
course. It
yes.
was, I mean, I had X-Acto knives and rulers, and
Yep.
I didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, I tried my hardest to do the best I could in the class. I think I got a B or a B plus,
Okay, good.
but that was a huge challenge for me to try to connect in that way. That and I would say set design class. That was
That
actually
sounds
kind
like
of fun
fun.
learning how to do
Yeah.
that with the art. But is there anything, Sister Thomas, that you would say that you would want that you would how can I say this, that you would warn young artists about today to be careful of?
Well, I think the most important thing is to be your own unique self. There are many, I've become aware of, there are many solicitations online where someone would say they saw your work, they like your work, and they would like to purchase your work. And then you set up a conversation and you send them the work and you never hear from them again. You don't get paid for it. So just like when I got the email for PSCNG, I automatically checked it out to make sure it was real. And I've had friends who said that they were sent a check and they were told that the check would cover shipping the artwork. But then they were told it was more than the shipping cost, and they would expect them to kind of return the overage or something like that. So my friend actually took the check to her bank and they double checked it for her, and it was a fraud. So the idea was they sent her more than she needed to ship the work, for her to go ahead and ship it and then return them to them the amount that was over the cost of shipping. So it was a way of one, getting money, and two, getting her checking information. So when you are approached online, and it's usually online, about someone wanting to buy your work and they've seen it and they loved it, and all you have to do is follow their directions and they will buy your work and you'll ship it to them. I'd be very cautious about that.
Got it.
So that's one thing that did not exist prior to everybody being online. So that's one thing you have to be careful of. It used to be if somebody liked your work, they met you in person at the gallery or wherever, they gave you money, you gave them the work. Now the scam is to get you to send them the work, and then either the check's no good or you never get a check. So you have to be careful of that.
Wow, that's good to know. That's really good.
Mhm.
I didn't know that.
And it's happened to a couple of people I know.
Ooh, that's not good. Well, is
Because usually you're so pleased and flattered that somebody wants to buy your work
yeah,
and you think it's legit, especially if they sent you a check.
that's true. That's true. Well, on that note, is there anything that happens nowadays, as an artist and exhibiting your work? Is there anything now that you wish existed in your earlier days when you were first exhibiting and, you know, making connections? Is there anything that you wish was, in existence back then?
Well, more transparency in the artist calls because you had to actually go around and look for places to exhibit. After the riots in 67, which was long ago, many of the corporate sponsors were looking to be inclusive of Black art. So there were places like New Jersey Bell, Public Service, that would have artist calls, and it was mostly word of mouth. One person knew it and told someone else, but now there's a whole organization. There's one called Cafe, Call for Artists, and there's Submittable, but there are all of these different organizations that will list artist calls. It'll tell you states, fees, and everything else you need to know. But to me, the most important thing is to be aware and a part of the major art organizations, like the New Jersey Artists Association. As an artist, you should be a member. There's no fee. You just go on record that you're a member, and then you get all of this information. Before that, there's the National Association of African American Artists. I didn't even know about it, and then someone told me, and I looked it up, and sure enough, I was listed. What happened, and I think it still exists, it was organized by people who would look at different invitations for art exhibits for Black artists and compiled this whole registry.
Hmm.
So it did exist, and I told several people about it. I said, check it out and see if your name is listed.
Wow.
And so that was good to know.
Wow, those are associations and registries I had no idea existed.
Yeah, that was an old one, and there was another one. Oh, let's see, it was for artists and for entertainers. Oh, I forgot what the name of it. Mm, but it existed early,
Hmm.
and they had conferences that we went to, and and it didn't have the National Art Association because it didn't have Black in its name, but it was for Black artists, and they would have different conferences that you went to and met different artists. I
Hmm.
remember we went to one in Virginia, and actually the actor Ossie Davis was there. So in fact, we got on an elevator with him, and my friend Gladys looks at him and says, "Oh, do you know who you are?" But those were exciting. The National Conference of Artists, that's what it was called. I think it's still around.
Wow. See, now these I have to do some research and look
Uh,
because I would love that. I mean, I love the idea that artists are coming together and finding
uh,
ways, or have been coming together and finding
yes.
ways to be in community, to be in association, to for the mutual uplift of what we're all doing.
Uh-huh.
Which reminds me of Gamma's I-Fi and coming together
Yes, that's
as a
right.
brother, a sisterhood, and family of artists. So
Mhm.
that's I love that. I love to hear that they exist, especially for Black artists, because we needed that. We've always
Yes.
needed that space for ourselves. Um, so with this, here comes the heavy question. Do you have a favorite piece of art that you've created? or favorite pieces
Hmm.
or collection?
Let's see. Well, usually it's always the latest piece you created, but there's a piece that I created quite a while ago, and I have it on exhibit right now at the Art and Atrium in Morristown. And the reason I pulled it out to exhibit it because it speaks to the current situation. It's a little boy who's very angry. And above him, I have the fist with the Black Power, sign. And there's an image of a man with a towel over his head. And this was taken from the the um, the revolt at Attica Prison in New York. It
Mm,
was a big spread in Ebony magazine. And I did this painting of this little boy and the prisoners from Attica in the prison yard behind them and with the Black Power fist. And I call it Storm Cloud Brewing.
mm.
And that's one of my favorite because it's very it's timeless because unfortunately it speaks to what's going on right now. So I guess right now that's my favorite, except I do like doing the female figures with the lace. So right now I'm using lace a lot because lace is evocative of femininity. And even though it's delicate and pretty, it's very strong because when you try to tear a piece of lace, all those threads hold it together. And that's how I see the feminine mystique. It's delicate, but it's delicate, pretty, but strong. And so that's what I like about using lace in my images of the females.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, I have noticed you do have lace in some of your
Yes.
work and a lot of
Mhm.
your work. Is there anything else, any other kind of material that you also like to use other than lace or?
Well, I actually don't use lace. I etch on plexiglass with a fine, well, with etching needles.
Okay.
I etch on the plexiglass to give the appearance of lace. See, none of this is lace.
Hmm.
This is etched on plexiglass and then it's printed on the black paper so it looks like lace. And then I paint on it.
Got it.
And then in some of the pieces, I just have the etching on the plexiglass overlaying the actual painting. So
Wow.
I like doing that because I like to be able to have the intricate designs. Because if you look at the lace, you'll see the Akuba design, which is the African fertility symbol, along with other designs that are emblematic of femininity and blackness. So you can do a lot with the lace without it overpowering the actual subject matter. I think some people like it because, as one lady says, it's so pretty. But then when you look at it, there's other meanings to it. In fact, both of these, I had to get a verbal approval from the Morris County Art Association because since the art is shown in a public building that houses courtrooms,
Hmm.
they are very careful about what they show. And one of the things they won't show are nudes. So
Got
I
it.
asked were my nudes, uh, you know, uh, non-objective and whether they were demure enough.
Hmm.
And at one point, I think it was on this one, I was told that the person looking at it said they saw a nipple. And so I just added some more lace to cover that up. So it was acceptable. But it's it's easily dealt with. If you know a place doesn't show nudes, you don't submit nudes. And as a curator for the Art in the Atrium, we have turned down pieces that were nudes.
Mm.
One was actually a garden scene, but in the background was a painting of a statue in the garden. that was nude. So
Yeah,
we had to turn it down.
got it.
Mhm.
I
And
understand.
then they didn't want any displays of guns. And one of my friends actually had a painting of Harriet Tubman that we had to turn down because Harriet Tubman was holding a gun, a rifle.
Yeah,
So anyway,
I understand. So has there ever been any piece that you felt was hard to do or hard to start or hard to finish uh, for yourself?
I'm trying to think. No, I did start an etching on a mirror once, not on plexiglass, but actually on a mirror, where you put down a substance like an acid, and it eats away the areas where you want the lines to be. I found that kind of unsettling and difficult because I was not in control of what the acid was doing.
Hmm,
That's why I preferred just taking the etching needle and carving into the plexiglass myself rather than have the acid eat into it. So yeah, that was difficult to work with.
got it. Okay. Well, I only have a few questions left, but one of them is you spoke about your granddaughter earlier. Did any of your children or your grandchildren get the artist bug as well?
Well, I have one daughter and one granddaughter. My granddaughter just finished, graduated. Well, not just graduated, but she graduated from Howard,
Oh,
and her she had two majors, social justice and law. She actually worked last year, and she finished Howard in 3.5 years and graduated summa cum laude. So her focus was more with the academic, basically math and debating and law, but on the side, like in elementary school, she did art. And when I was on the board of the gallery here in Maplewood, she was one of the interns, and she likes art. And some of the things she does are very good, but it's not a passion for her. My daughter claims not to be creative, but she's creative in the point of designing and putting things together. But again, her field is she's a certified, she's a controller,
hmm,
you know, working with business and math and especially in acquisitions and mergers. So doesn't leave a lot of time for art.
I hear. I
But they appreciate the art, they really do.
and that's in this the way the world is working right now, we need more people to appreciate art, and we
And
need
if we didn't have people appreciate art, we wouldn't have collectors and we couldn't sell our art. So,
that's true. That's very true. If there's one more thing that you can leave our viewers and anybody who'll see this video, because it'll be up on our website, I mean our the fraternity's YouTube page, then to the website. Is there if there's any piece of advice, just or any words of wisdom you want to leave or anybody, please. Is there anything you have?
well, again, to be active and with the fraternity, sorority, that's the best way to go because you get to connect with people from all over.
Hmm.
And art is about connecting with people, even though you don't see it exactly, it is because when somebody sees something in a piece of art that you did not see, and they said it just connects with me, then you have made an impression. And so, to me, that's very important to be a part of society, not to isolate yourself and not to hold art up whether it's theater or music or visual arts, as something beyond your reach because you're not involved in it. That doesn't mean that you can't appreciate it and celebrate it. And that's what I say. Support the organizations like the fraternity and see what they're doing and be a part of it.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Mr. Thomas. Has been an amazing interview, and I'm so happy that I've finally been able to get an opportunity to interview you for this. And anybody who sees this video, please follow and check out your website and all the artwork that you have going on. I have seen the work that you have.
Okay.
And I've gone past it and seen it on, in galleries, and I've seen it on the street, and it's definitely worth being a part of it and seeing for yourself and actively participating with it. So,
thank you so much for this opportunity.
Absolutely.